Hello, this is Jaiye Bynoe. You on the Jayman show. My guest today are Mr. Mathew Knowles, a wonderful producer for Destiny's Child, and so many other artists. And my co-host is Mr. Tony Wilson, Young James Brown. Okay, guys, what do you have on the show today? Okay, Tony, why don't you start? Okay, you take us all, Tony.
All right, how you doing? We'd like to welcome you first of all. How you doing, Mathew Knowles?
I'm well, sir. I'm doing well. How about you? How are you? And
I spoke with you on the phone before regarding a young lady, but I'm really want to congratulate you on all of the wonderful things you've been doing. I mean, I hold you as higher than Berry Gordy and Joe Jackson for the fact that you're doing something for the kids, empowering them and doing that arts and having that hands-on training. And I've seen a lot of the work that you've done in Atlanta, especially with the kids and empowerment and the speeches. And I'm so glad that you're out here, doing that, because nobody's doing that physically and actually letting people see you face to face with all the knowledge and all the things that you have done and the things that you have achieved, not only with your daughter, but just with other artists, the OJs, Shaka Khan, and I really admire that, because James Brown took me up under his wing, and I worked for James Brown for a while, and I now front the James Brown Band with Bootsy Collins. And so when I started reading your book and some of the things that you have done and the things that you're doing now, I just really wanted to know what's happening now for the things that you're doing with empowering these kids in the arts during this pandemic, and how far. I know you got a different outlook now, but I just really wanted to point that out to you and find out what your thought is on how we're going to get through the pandemic.
Well, it's a good question, and thank you guys for allowing me to be on your show. One of the things that I'm doing and others, I don't know if you know this, Tony, but I've been a college educator for 15 years. I teach at Prairie View A&M University, which is a HBCU. I also this semester, literally starting on the 25th, I'm teaching at the University of Houston, and it's called the Music Industry in a Digital Age. And by the way, that course at University of Houston is open for everyone. All they have to do is go to the University of Houston, their website, and they'll be able to find the music industry in a digital age. So I work a lot with young people, and I always have. I thoroughly enjoy it, because that's our future. And it shows how it's our future when we look at the election that we just had and how our young people stepped up and spoke out quicker, faster, sooner. So that's what I'm doing. We have 5 projects in film and TV. I'll be guest lecturing around the country this semester, and doing what I'm doing now. I have a podcast of my own, iHeartMedia, that's called Mathew Knowles Impact. And that will start on February 22nd. And we'll talk about how to build bridges and tear down walls. We look at racism, we look at sexism, we look at from a financial element of Black folks in America. How do we tear the bridges of the walls of poverty down? How do we tear the walls of homelessness down? Housing, police, how do we tear these walls down and build bridges?
Wow, that's amazing. You pretty much hit it on point for me, because like I said, doing the hands-on thing and actually opening these workshops up and these things for kids so they have encouragement and knowing that they can be important, especially in the digital age, as you spoke of. And I just think that it's phenomenal. So you said February 22nd is something they'll be able to participate in Houston?
Well, February 25th.
25th.
Is the University of Houston course, Music Industry in a Digital Age.
Okay.
It's open to the world. It's a certificate class. So
Okay.
you'll get a certificate. It's a serious semester. It's 12 classes the entire semester, 2 hours on Mondays. So this will be intense. It's for people who really want to learn the music industry.
Wow.
And so that starts on the 25th, and that you can go to the University of Houston website and register for the class. Of course, there's a fee, but you can find all that. Then on the February 22nd, 3 days before, well, the class is January 25th. Let me not confuse everyone. It's January 25th, the age class, and February 22nd is the podcast with iHeartMedia called Mathew Knowles Impact.
Okay, that's wonderful. I mean, just totally wonderful, and I just definitely want to congratulate you again. You're doing so much for the people, some of the youth, and they need to read more about you. And I did know that you were an educator, and I read about you, of course, a lot of other different things. But of course, me musically, does this thing open up for dancers, to everybody in the arts, or it's just for singers or people, musicians, or?
It's mainly focused on the music industry, the business side of the music industry. We will get in some artistry or artist development because it's important for those that are wanting to be developed and those that want to help develop others. I'll share some of my techniques in artist development. But we'll talk about all aspects of the music industry. We'll talk about touring. We'll talk about how to make a record, how to market a record, how to sell a record, how to image an artist, how to build a team, how to know and manage the record label. Do you want to have a record, to go to a record label? Do you want to do it independently? We'll talk about every aspect. That's why it's 12 courses, 2 hours, so 24 hours over a semester. No different. You're in school. You're at the University of Houston. You can't get any better than that.
Right. That is a great place, for real, for sure. Well, I definitely want to introduce my daughters to you. This is Jessica. This is my
Hi. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Pleasure, Jessica.
And this is Isabella. This is my son, daughter.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Isabella, you're serious. I can tell.
And I have other daughter. She's listening. Who's Jayman. She's the dancer. She's the one that does all the choreography and music. So she's really into that. I wanted to share with you that you had mentioned the digital era, and in that sense, we have something that we're doing with avatars, which is I'm doing the James Brown musical. That's going to open up hopefully during this pandemic in August sometime. So I want to make sure that, and I'll actually send you some stuff to your phone on this. You'll be like blown away, and it'll probably catapult some other things that you're doing within your digital world. But I'll tell you about it. On hush hush for now. But I'd
love to get it.
And when are you out in Atlanta? You stay in Atlanta, correct?
No, we live in Houston.
You're in Houston?
Yes, we live in Houston, Texas. I grew up not far from Atlanta in Alabama.
Right.
And I went to University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, Chattanooga is not far from Atlanta.
Right.
But in the late 70s, I moved, and then I attended Fisk University in Nashville. So I moved from Nashville to Houston in 1976, which seems like ancient now. But so we live here, my wife and I, in Houston.
That's believable. That's thank you. I thank you so much for sharing all that with us, and especially all of the works and stuff that you've done all over the world. I think more people need to know about you and your journey and all your degrees and things that they have, like, that man behind the magic, more to the 10th power. And
well, Tony, you know, most people don't realize in this, you see those that are fortunate, and I say fortunate because typically only about 1-2% of all artists are really profitable and successful. And that's how we measure success is not by the number of awards you have, but by profitability in the business side. And so there's only a small percentage that's really fall in that category, less than 2%. So there's a tremendous amount of failure in this business. Incredible artists and incredible talent. Sometimes they're just surrounded with people that don't have the business talent, and they suffer from that because they don't have that support business-wise. So we want to make sure that we work. And by the way, thank you for. I have tremendous respect for Berry Gordy. I've met Mr. Gordy one time at an award show years ago, and it's so ironic how I never knew his story. It's just coincidentally we had the same approach to how we did business, how we built our empires. He had a house. I had a house that was converted to offices. I had music. I had recording studios and facilities. He same thing, and he's a tremendous songwriter. Most people don't know I'm fortunate to have co-written a #1 song, "Survivor," that Destiny's Child did, and some other with Trinity 5-7. But so I thank you for that, because that's an amazing compliment to be the same word with Berry Gordy. Now, Joe Jackson, that's another story.
Yeah, though, didn't he?
we don't want to be in that same category.
Oh, I was thinking of, you went out and started teaching these kids and building them up. And I mean, maybe they didn't have the time to do it, or they were too busy with their own families or the industry, so to speak, especially Motown was huge, giant wheel. But at some point, they had to do what you've done and what you're doing, and that's to reach out to these kids. Like, it's an old news, you know, the kids are the future. So you got to reach out to them, whether the dancers, the singers, the musicians, you know, and you've done that. And you're creating something that is going to be so very important in 21, 22 and on because of this pandemic. It could either be the worst thing we had because nobody wants death, but also it's an eye-opener to the digital world and to, yes, you can still survive and make it through the music industry during this pandemic. And by either if you're physically going to a school or whether you're joining your podcast, you know, or whatever.
Well, you're absolutely right. No, none of us want to see death and devastation. But in the same breath, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I couldn't agree with you more, quite frankly, Tony. In the same breath, in a crisis, we learn to modify, we learn to adjust, and we learn to adapt our behavior. I'm not sure when I look at downtown Houston, we live downtown, and I see all the skyscrapers and empty buildings right now. I'm not sure if the future might be maybe only 25% of people in those buildings. Maybe 50 to 75% will stay at home. We found that there's research now that we're more productive working at home on Zoom than we are working in the office, because in the office we spend a lot of chatter time, talking to other people and on the phone, and, not really being productive. We're finding out streaming in the music industry, although we're in a pandemic, fortunately for the music industry, streaming is at an all-time high. Our touring is at an all-time low, but streaming is doing exceptionally well. And online education, students, professors are learning to adapt to teaching online. I can reach more people teaching online. So this digital age And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, through this crisis has made us look at things and doing it a different way. My wife and I never got groceries online before the pandemic.
Right.
Now we only get groceries online. We only order dinner online and have it delivered by a delivery service. We weren't doing any of this before. So technology we see that we can utilize it different. I love the fact that I can order and have my dinner in 30 minutes and to get up or any of that. I love that.
Yeah, well, we love ordering out too. As a matter of fact, Candy Isley, Ron Isley's wife, she texted me and she told me the same thing. It's the first time she ordered groceries now for the house. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, well, I guess it's going to happen. So either we're going to be approaching the Jetson era, which we haven't approached yet. It's all the technology we have. But I think that your direction in the digital and the teaching, the music and the online and the streaming, that is going to be just so huge.
Well, think about it, Tony. We used to, and I used to, get on an airplane, fly to New York or LA for one meeting. For one meeting that was going to last 1 hour.
Right.
I would spend $3,000-$4,000, have to get dressed up, go to the airport, get on an airplane, check in a hotel for a meeting.
Right.
We can just do it like we're doing it now.
Right now.
And you say, that was kind of crazy. Why did I fly to New York when I could have just had a conversation with the person?
Exactly. Well, they had big expense bonuses then and could fly everybody around, but you just figure, why should you when you could just talk on FaceTime or, it wasn't invented, but still,
Yeah, it's a different day.
It's a different day, different world. But we're glad that you're in it and we're glad that you're doing what you're doing to help. I've been trying to find ways through my channels and to get my daughter Jayman out there. She's like quite the dancer. And I that's the best news. What's the best news you can give to her? To stream it, keep making videos. What would you say to Jayman?
There's a number of things how old is she?
Jayman is 33.
Okay. There's a book that I suggest. It's called The DNA of Achievers.
Okay.
10 traits of highly successful professionals. And it goes through these 10 traits. It's about 260 pages, and it has a workbook associated. So, and the author I happen to know. His name is Dr. Mathew Knowles. I actually happen to know this guy. It's his first book that he wrote. But I highly recommend that book to her because this has to be built on passion. It can't be a hobby.
Right.
You have to be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. And the ultimate sacrifice is when you're struggling, but you're putting all your efforts in your career and you're saying, I got to figure out how to do this struggle the same way I figure out how to buy those shoes and buy those other things that we do.
Right.
Well, I've got to put in the commitment for this. So that's the first thing that I always suggest. Is this truly her passion? Is she truly willing to do whatever is required to become successful? Unfortunately, most people aren't. Unfortunately, most people, it's a hobby. And that's okay that it's a hobby. But when you quit your job and you quit school, you make those type of sacrifices because this is all you think, live, and breathe. And you're willing to, that's when you are on your way. When you're willing to do it to that extreme, to be poor, to have to ask people to help you out because you're spending all your time dancing all day, all night, 7 days a week. And so that's number one. And what coexists with that passion is work ethics. They coexist like a glove. If you have one, you have another. The other thing I suggest is building a team around her, finding someone that can help her on the business side. I don't know if that's you or who, but artists need to focus on their creative craft. They need to have other people working on their business, because the business is so overwhelming. If an artist, and by artistry, that's a musician, a singer, a dancer, a hairstylist, all of that is artistry, a painter. Right. If you're doing it the right way, you don't have time to be working on the business part of it. Correct. So that's one of my suggestions. The other is, you touched upon it. We have, again, we live in a digital world. We have YouTube. We have social media where she can put her work up every minute, every hour, every day.
Right.
It's really up to her. There's nothing holding her back. And building that platform, building that audience, building the demand. Look, this is how it works today. If she's getting better and great at that, getting to that point, it takes years to greatness, then people will recognize that. They'll recognize it on social media. They'll recognize it on YouTube. Read the comments. Understand that even myself, this past summer, I went to Harvard University as a student. I've taught for 15 years. I went as a student because there was a course called Ethical Leadership that I felt could make me better. And I wanted the very best. So I'm still growing and learning. And I recommend that artists never think that they know it all. There's always room to grow. And I highly challenge your daughter to think outside of the box. She doesn't have to necessarily do it how everybody else did.
Right.
Think creative new ways of approaching it. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is an opportunity to grow, not a reason to quit. I want to say that one more time. Failure and mistakes, and I'm saying this also to your two daughters. When you're doing it the right way and you're working on being the best of whatever you do in life, you will make mistakes because you're a risk taker. You're trying new stuff. You're a risk taker. You're going to try this. Well, sometimes it's going to fail. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes because you're trying to be better. View that as an opportunity that you made a mistake so that you can learn from that and learn a better way of doing it. And you will never learn until you make the mistake. You get that frying pan and you don't put on a glove and you burn your hand. Well, next time not to do that because you've experienced how that feels. Someone who's never experienced it might be dumb enough to make that mistake, grab it while it's hot. Right. A lot of people, they give up when they make a mistake. They give up when they fail. And I'm here to say, no, look at it as a blessing that you made a mistake and you fail, because now you can do it a different, better way.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, she'll be glad to hear that, I'm sure, if she's listening in or because she's working. But I'm sure that she'll be very inspired by that. And, of course, we'll get that book. Jay, are you still here with us?
I'm here. Okay, I guess I have one question. Mr. Knowles, what advice can you give me as an artist? I mean, because I've written some songs and I have some videos on YouTube if you want to check them out. I've worked with Tony. I've worked with his show being so what advice can you give me? Because I'm trying to, have success, but also I'm trying to give back to people like you, like artists, So what advice could you give me,
Jay, this is as an artist. Thing I suggest that after this minute in your lifetime, that you never say you're trying to do something. Successful people don't use the word "I'm trying to do something." We do it. Because psychologically, if you say trying, that means your brain is a computer and it takes that, well, he's not fully committed to doing it. He's not fully committed. So 2 things as an artist, I suggest: don't ever use the word try. Don't ever say I'm waiting. Successful people don't wait. They go get it. They make it happen.
I agree.
Other things as an artist, artistry really is about a number of things. It's about your God-given talent, and we all can get better. There's vocal lessons online. We didn't even talk about that, Tony. You can take vocal lessons online now.
Right.
Dance lessons online. But continue to make your instrument better. Continue to work on that part of your craft. This whole thing at artistry is about also imaging. You got to make sure your image matches up with you, the artist, which matches up to the type of songs you sing. So when I look at you, I would see someone maybe that's doing formal, maybe in an orchestra or a symphony or that type of gospel. That's what your image is giving me right now. So what genre of music are you?
Well, I'm sort of R&B, gospel, Christian, contemporary love songs.
Image, that kudos to you. Good job. You did a great job, because you have to realize you are an artist 24 hours a day. Anytime someone sees you, it's about branding yourself as an artist. And every time you get on the screen, every time you walk out your door, you have to be conscious. I'm an artist. So if I'm a rock artist, every time I get on the screen, walk out of the door, I need to look like a rock artist.
Right.
And people they think, oh, well, no, today's Thursday, ain't nobody seeing me. Oh, yeah, somebody saw you. All right. So it's about that imaging and getting the image right. It's also, Jay, having great songs. I don't care how well Beyonce can sing. I don't care how well Beyonce can dance. I don't care how great the team is around her. If she's got a whack song, it equals whack.
Right.
So it's about having a great song as well. Actually, in our industry, we sometimes debate. Sometimes you can be an average artist, but have great songs and end up doing okay. I mean, we look at Pharrell. I'm so happy Pharrell will tell you he's not a singer, but anybody can sing "I'm So Happy." I'm happy. I mean, that song is such a great song, "Happy," that anybody can sing it. Any one of us can sing. But so it's about having the combination of talent, working on your craft, the combination of the right image, the combination of having great songs, the combination of having a great team. There's no one thing, is what I'm saying, Jay, that makes it happen. It's a combination of things. Most people think it's about talent. It's not just about talent. It's not just about the business. Again, the song, you get a little past there. I can name a number of artists that are, in my view, they're good. They're not great, but they have great songs.
Right.
And they do very well.
Yeah.
I see, Tony, you soaking this in, aren't you?
You already I know. I know those names too.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, the guy that made "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Anybody could sing it, but that was his hit.
Yeah.
McFerrin, that was his hit, not all the other 12 songs that he put on the album. The little song that he had to write because he owed them another song.
Right.
So anybody can. But like you said, Pharrell's song "Happy" is just like singing "Happy Birthday." Anybody could sing it.
Anybody can sing it. Anybody. So those are the things that I suggest to you, along with the passionate work ethics that I talked about, that apply.
And also, Jay, you've already become someone important, Jay, because of your show. You have Mathew Knowles on it. He's on your show. You had the Fresh Prince, the mother and daughter Ashley was on your show. So you just keep building and keep having great interviews with people that know what they're talking about and that are taking us and catapulting us to a good 21, 22, 23.
And that's why I wanted to do the interview, Jay, is that I love to work with people that's starting and on the way up, on their way up. Let me just share in life, and we talked about interns. I got to meet my interns. I've been out of town for a while today, and I was telling her, because she was very shy, and I said, look, in the world of life, people that are shy finish last. Mm-hmm. This is not a world for shy people. Shy people don't do well in this world. It's people that's assertive. I like the word assertive. I don't use the word arrogant, but assertive people that sometimes have to be aggressive. The second thing, if you don't believe it, mm-hmm. and the young ladies on the sofa as well, if you don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it.
That's right.
Because inside, psychologically, people ask me, did you think Destiny Child would ever be that big? Did you think your daughters? Absolutely, I did. The same way I believed I would be the #1 sales rep in the world at Xerox. The same reason I believed that we would start a clothing line called House of Darion and didn't know anything about it, but sell it for $75 million. Absolutely, I believe that. Just like I believe that I'm going to make an impact on academia and how college professors teach.
Right.
I absolutely think there's a new shift that's going to happen in the future in academia. They're going to finally understand how to market outside of the university. They're going to understand how this Zoom and online work and how you have to combine education with entertainment. Students don't want to just sit on the sofa and hear you talk for 2 hours. You've got to bring entertainment value to it.
Right.
So Jay, you're on the right path.
Thank you.
Young man.
You're all right.
Thank you so much.
Did Don in?
No, he didn't come in though. Wish he would, but no.
Well, I enjoyed my time with you and Mathew. Of course, like I said, I meant what I said when I said about you going that extra distance for not only just for the kids, but for the world to know the business end of the music business as well as the business and being talented. So I think that's very important. I think the viewers out here now will get a different perspective and they'll start, of course, joining these podcasts and seeing what you're doing in Houston and all the programs that you have on musically, not just for people in Houston, but all over the world. So I look forward to seeing a lot of that, and I'll definitely be in touch with you.
Well, Tony, before I leave, I wanted to offer to the young ladies there on the sofa if they would like to ask me a question. And as I tell my students, there's no bad question. There's no dumb question. There's only the one that you ask that probably a whole lot of other people are wanting to ask that question and don't have the courage to ask it. So I'm giving both of you that opportunity. Is there a question you'd like to ask me?
Isabella?
How are you so confident in knowing that you were going to get as far as you did in the music industry?
That's a very good question. Why am I and how am I so confident? It goes back to what I talked about, failure. You see my successes. In my books, I share my failures, but you don't see all of my failures. But every one success, I probably failed 5 to 10 times before I got that success. But as you begin to change how you think, it's no different than if you are on a diet and you're trying to lose 100 pounds and you begin to change how you eat and how you exercise. And then your brain is like a muscle. It conditions you then to think that way. It's the same in life. Like you begin to think a different type of way than most people. They're looking at something and they're seeing a potential of it small, but you're looking at it, seeing the potential of being great. So it's like an athlete, you have to keep practicing greatness. You have to keep practicing greatness. I used to share, and I will share, what people didn't know with Destiny's Child, when they practice failure. They would be on the stage and I would, at any time, they had no idea when the music was going to go off. So that, okay, the music went off. There's 10,000 people out there and the music just went off. Are you going to panic or are you going to be prepared to continue your show without the music?
Right.
They didn't know if the lights were going to go off. They didn't know sometimes we would make the buttons where their buttons are going to pop on their wardrobe so they could have a wardrobe malfunction. So you begin to practice a behavior and you begin to practice confidence. And if you're shy and talking, then you begin to practice, I'm going to talk in front of people.
Right.
You don't get out of your shyness being more shy. You got your shyness by saying, I'm shy, I acknowledge it, and I'm going to work on that. Every day, I'm going to work on my shyness. I'm going to get on Instagram. I'm going to talk to my parents. I'm going to get on a Zoom call with friends, and I'm going to not be quiet during a conversation. I'm going to say something. Yeah. So hopefully that makes some sense to you. You have to believe, and you gain this confidence through practice. Very good question.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay.
So my question is, I'm on my way to university and picking out of all the many options and opportunities that there are for going for your doctorate, how did you decipher which stepping stones were going to help you personally towards your education?
Okay. Well, my undergraduate degree is business administration and economics. And I share that my parents were very poor, grew up in Gaston, Alabama. They would have never been able to afford me to go to college. I'm the first in my immediate family to go to college. My brother didn't go to college. My sister didn't graduate from college, but she's younger than I, so she was after. So fortunate through sports, I was able to get a scholarship to go to a major university. So that's where I got my undergraduate. And in terms of getting my MBA, which I got from a Cornerstone Christian and Bible College, and I got both my MBA and PhD online. And I thought by getting it online, it would be easier. Little did I know that it's way, way harder, both as a professor, which I just learned, and a student. online. It's much harder because you don't have that support around you. You've got to read a lot. But it was strategy. Things I do in life are strategic. I made a decision years ago that I was going to retire like everyone. All of us are going to, one thing we know, we're going to be born and we're going to die. And so what is going to happen in between can either be something you plan to happen and you have strategy to make it happen, or you just say, I just let life give me what it wants to give me, which is not smart. So I was strategic. I knew that as I got 70 years old, that I wanted to retire out of the music industry, and I just wanted to educate and motivate people. So